What's good, everyone, and welcome back to the Water Boys channel. As today, well, it's the off-season time. It's my KC time where I get to do a lot of predictions, hypothetical thoughts, free agency, trade ideas. And today, I'm going to dive a little more into Calvin Ridley. But before I dive into any of that, first and foremost, I'll take any small victory I can, and I want to say thank you to everyone for getting me over 100 subscribers. It's the baby steps, but I am very appreciative of it. But without further ado as well, please do subscribe to the channel because, like I said, it's off-season time. So I'm going to be having a lot of these hypothetical trades. Things can happen. Free agency is going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. So I'm going to have you covered throughout this whole off-season NFL news, but most in specific, Kansas City news. But without further ado, let's dive into these Calvin Ridley rumors. So yes, I'm going to dive into Calvin Ridley and if that would be a good fit in Kansas City and if Kansas City should make the trade happen whatsoever. Now, if most of you football fans are living under a rock or if most of you are just dedicated to Kansas City and don't follow any fan base, Calvin Ridley, he had, it wasn't a down year whatsoever, but he had, I don't even know how to really phrase it. He was dealing with a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess depression, mental health issues as well, which he basically sidelined himself, which is all for a good reasoning as well. And I see people out there being like, well, how come these stars, like even we're going to go NBA with Ben Simmons as well, but they're like, how can these stars have these depression issues and then they go somewhere else and then they're happy all of a sudden? That's just like a real life scenario as well, you guys. It's like, for example, if you were in a bad place but you change your scenery, you can be happy and adjust. It's just the same thing as a star too. The money doesn't change the aspect whatsoever. So anyone can have mental health problems. Hopefully everything is straight with Calvin Ridley or anyone that is dealing with those type of issues. But you got to be sympathetic for them as well because they have a heartbeat just the same as us. So don't just overlook and be like, oh, they're a celebrity, they're a star, they shouldn't have these issues. They most definitely should, and they probably should have more because of the starlight and the money that they deal with as well. Like they say, more money can usually lead to more problems, and that could be an instant in this situation. But let me dive out of that. I just wanted to get a quick briefing on it, but dive into Calvin Ridley, the player, as well, and if he'd be a good fit in KC, and how Chiefs Kingdom feels about him potentially being a Chief as well, if he would be a good trade target. My first thing on that is I would welcome it. And honestly, here's the thing where Chiefs fans get kind of iffy with as well is we never keep our draft picks. Honestly, we trade them all the time. The only first round pick we kept, now I could be wrong as well, but was it just for LA? Like Brett Veach, he always trades it for more assets, and nothing wrong with that either. I mean, look what the Rams did this year. They literally put everything in the house, made sure they got these proven vets to go win a Super Bowl, and that's exactly what they did as well. Now, there are instances, too, where you'd be like, build your team through the draft as well. Get these young players, build up, let them play those 4 or 5 years if it's a first-round pick on these rookie contracts, and it could be really good on cheap deals. I get that, too, as well, but that's a 50-50 type of thing, too. Definitely when you're picking in the later half of the first round, because these are not going to be proven commodity type of guys unless you're going to trade into the mid-tier first round. These guys are going to be someone that you're kind of taking a gamble and a bet on, because if you're in Kansas City's instance, this is actually the lowest they've picked in the first round in a while, and it's pick number 30. So I would agree with Brett Veach on the fact, like, if I could trade it for a caliber wide receiver, a caliber D end, a caliber cornerback top tier, yeah, I would trade my first round pick just because I know that could be a proven commodity over something that I don't know is the for sure thing, and definitely if it takes years in out as well, because we know that with draft picks as well. It's usually not out the gate, they're 1 year and then they're just out there booming. Like sometimes these guys take 2-3 years. And if Kansas City is then in that win now mode, which we know they are because they want to contend for Super Bowls every year, that's something they will do. And as well, too, Brett Veach has proven even in this draft class as well, this was probably his best draft class. He knows how to find depth in later rounds. For example, round 2 last year, it's not late, but like you get where I'm going. It's not a first round pick. Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey. If you want to go with Trey Smith in the 6th round as well. A L'Jarius Sneed, what, was he a 4th or 5th round pick? Yeah, he knows how to find his jewels in the later rounds. So If it was any other team, I'd say try to keep your first round pick and see what you can do with it. But in this instant, when you're picking late, I would trade, and I definitely would trade for a Calvin Ridley as well. And I saw things on Twitter. Would you trade a first and a third for Calvin Ridley and Atlanta? I want to say it was Atlanta swap for a second. And I would do that in a heartbeat because if you think about it, Atlanta swap for a second is like 43rd. KC picking 30th. So that's 13 spots later. So you're basically still getting an early second round pick. So that will work out perfectly if Kansas City wanted to get a DN or a cornerback in that position as well. And let's dive into the impact of Calvin Ridley and what can he have on this team. Again, hopefully everything mentally is perfectly clear, and I think that would have to be agreed upon on both sides as well before they trade for a Calvin Ridley. But I think with him kind of saying he wants a new scenery and things like that, I think he is getting into that right mindset. So with that as well, Calvin Ridley is not a number 2, but in this offense he would be, and he would be an amazing number 2 wide receiver. Like, we always look for that number 2 guy. We've been looking for it for a while. And if you guys, which I know a lot of you have, it's what's been getting this channel more views as well. My dream free agency is what I mostly focused on was what, like a Juju Smith, a DJ Chark, even guys I didn't even speak about, Odell before he got hurt as well. There's Allen Robinsons. I'm missing guys. If you want to reach on a Devontae Adams, a Chris Godwin, and I actually want to compare Calvin Ridley to the free agency class as well. It's like, be realistic. Where would you rank him as well? If you want Kansas City to sign one of these free agent guys, rank him with Calvin Ridley as well. And honestly, Calvin Ridley might be like a little tier lower than Devontae Adams. That's in my eyes. I know a lot of people have Chris Godwin really high up there, and so do I as well. I kind of like the player of Calvin Ridley more than I like Chris Godwin, especially in our scheme. But you can make an argument for both sides as well. And with that, I would go for a Calvin Ridley, even 2 on these trade points, because Calvin Ridley, he's due $11 million this year, which for a quarterback, well, wide receiver his caliber, that's actually really good because of Devontae Adams. Now, I don't know if you want to believe reports or whatever they're doing, but there's reports that Green Bay wants to pay him towards $25 million to $30 million a year, which is, that's crazy, but that can definitely set the market as well. And Chris Godwin as well, he's going to be an upper tier 18 to 20 million as well. And if you can get Calvin Ridley right now at 11 million a year, and then you extend Tyreek Hill, which frees up more cap space, you can still have leverage to bring in more guys. We talked about a Juju as well. Juju's not going to command more than he did last year because he was injured most of the year, so that's another $8 million. You can get a Calvin Ridley and a Juju as well. That's a scary receiving core, and I would easily trade up my first-round pick for it as well. And I think we live in the moment, and that's the type of league we are in as well. But even the year before, even though it was a down year, he was a little under 1,000 yards and still had, I want to say, 9 touchdowns. And then the year before was his breakout year, over 1,400 yards and 9 touchdowns. In his rookie year, he still had 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. The kid finds the end zone, and you need another weapon for Mahomes, definitely a solidified one where you know he can depend on him every down, because that's the thing Kansas City has struggled the most was with the Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Once one of them is doubled, and then if one of them has an off game or they man up really well, it's like, who can you depend on? Pringle has come in here and he's done his thing, and I'm very thankful for it, but I don't think we're going to break the bank on him. And like I mentioned in my other videos, I think he's going to get a bigger payday than what KC wants to pay him. And that's all good. But I think KC needs a higher tier wide receiver than Byron Pringle. And that goes for DeMarcus Robinson as well. You guys know I do not like DeMarcus Robinson whatsoever. But he did show his limelight. He did have good moments as well, especially in the playoffs. But I do not want to go through another full year of that as well, because that's just going to be something iffy in the future, because that's not someone you could depend on. He's proven that year in and year out as well. And then you could look at the aspect as well as, like, you only have 1 first-round pick. So if you're going to trade it, make sure it's for something like you really, really need. And is Calvin Ridley an asset you really, really need? You do need a number 2 wide receiver, but to that high tier standard, I don't know. but I would sure love to fucking see it. I'm not gonna lie with that. But as well, would I rather trade a first round pick for a star cornerback or a star DN? That'll be another video as well because I'll find guys as well, but I would rather lean towards it being traded for a star DN and a star cornerback. But if Calvin Ridley is available and the Atlanta Falcons are listening to an offer like that, you got to put it on the table as well. And that's where everything's going to come full circle as well. There's already been reports that Atlanta's not willing to trade him. They'll do anything to keep him. So that could cut down anything in the scenario whatsoever. And this trade might not happen. But again, you got to have both sides happy. And right now in Atlanta, it doesn't seem like both sides are happy. And if Calvin Ridley can keep demanding a trade, and if Atlanta hears the right trade, everybody's got a price. So if they hear the right price for Calvin Ridley, they might bite on it. And I don't know if a lot of people will give that first that Kansas City will. And the only reason Kansas City will give a first is because it's a low-end second in their eyes. And they don't have no problem trading it. Now, any other team, they're not going to trade a first because most teams that need a receiver of Calvin Ridley's caliber have mid-first round picks. And that's where it gets iffy for a lot of teams. Like, ooh, is he worth that? Nah, I'd rather do my second. And a lot of people will look at Kansas City's first better than their second. So there's a lot of things that could play out into this as well. But it's an interesting factor. I would welcome Calvin Ridley whatsoever. I think it brings KC's offense to another dynamic as well. Again, I don't know if it takes it over the top because, like I said, wide receiver is something they need as well. But on the offensive side of the ball, I'd love to see a number 2 tight end really step up. But that's also, too, Noah Gray can have a great year coming next year. We all have big hopes for Jody Fortson coming back off of his big injury as well. He looked like he was on the big things in the month of September, definitely in preseason as well. And so I'm excited to see how he rehabs, how he comes back for training camp, because he looks like a freak athlete. And I'm excited to see a full year under his belt, definitely in this system. And then it's just a running game as well. We've seen it in Patrick Mahomes' first year. Man, we haven't been the same since a Kareem Hunt. And I want to see like the lights of a Clyde Edwards-Helaire step up, or a Jerick McKinnon, or if that 1-2 punch translates to next year as well as what they did in the postseason this year. That was amazing what they did. I love that type of running game. If they can move that into 2022, Kansas City is going to be hard to beat, especially if you bring the lights of a Jody Fortson back and you get another wide receiver in the game. Whew! Kansas City's offense is going to be back, and they're going to be someone you don't want to be messing with whatsoever. But that is the topic for discussion tonight, folks. It will be KC fans. Would you trade that first-round pick for Calvin Ridley, or would you just hold up? Let me know down in the comments below if Calvin Ridley is worth it, if you would like to see him in this offense, or if you kind of want to let it slide and pass, and let's take our chances in someone in free agency. I'm for either or, honestly, at this point. In free agency, it's probably going to cost more for a wide receiver, but if you get it, that's cool to see. If you get someone of Calvin Ridley's caliber, definitely at $11 million for 2022, that's also something like amazing to see. I just want to see another wide receiver in this offense so bad. But you guys let me know in the comments, is Calvin Ridley worth our first round pick? But with that being said as well, like I mentioned, thank you guys for getting me above 100 subscribers. It is greatly appreciated, but we ain't done yet, so you know what to do. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. I will keep having more videos throughout the week, NFL-related videos. Of course, Chiefs Kingdom, I will have your videos daily as well, so you do not want to miss out on any of that. And without further ado, I am checking out. You guys take care.